So maybe you can do 225 for 10 reps. But if you stop growing at 7, why are you pushing till 10? Because there's a certain point where the loading parameter is not in your favor to make progress.
I've learned a lot over the 4 decades of health and fitness and being in the trenches with the greatest in the world. And one of those things I've learned a lot more about and how to build better muscle is nutrition and how it has changed over the decades. And that's why I have the Titan meal plan for you guys out there that are confused about nutrition. I'm going to set you straight. Get a hold of me today. The link will be in the comments down below for you guys. Everybody, get over to the Titan meal plan, and I'll see you in the Titan crew where I will fine-tune any difficulties that you're having. When people are talking about how to exercise or how to bodybuild, powerlift, whatever that is, and they talk about it, and it is a past tense thing because they couldn't maintain it in their 30s or 40s or 50s. Does that trigger you in any way?
Yeah, big time. Because for me, I donated my entire life to getting where I was and maintaining that, because I knew that I could be the best in the world, at least in sections of time.
So I shouldn't feel bad that irritates me to listen to somebody who's even a decade younger than me that looks like telling you, this is how you should train. Mother, what do you know about training?
Yeah.
You're telling me you know how to train when you're 20? Everybody looks good when you're 20.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You don't need a trainer in your 20s.
Yeah, you need a little bit of genetics.
30 years old, all you got to do is be a little dedicated.
Right.
40 years old, you got to be intelligent. 50 years old, you got to be unique. And you got to be...
I would even say that process starts at around 30 instead of 40.
I know, I was being nice.
But, I get it. Nice. Yeah, I'd say, I mean, look at how many memes we see on the internet on, oh, your knees after squats at 30 years old.
Yeah.
And you're like, motherfucker, I was at my best in my 30s. I didn't really even peak until I was 37.
Yeah, 40.
Yeah, almost 40. And I asked Ed Cohen, when did you feel your best, your strongest? 40s. He's like, without a doubt, 36, 39.
Yeah.
I would say 38.
Right?
I could run through this.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah.
Literally, I felt like it.
But you wouldn't have been able to do that if you had skeletal injuries.
Right.
And you were all f***ed up for trying to impress people that really didn't matter.
It's true.
And for me, it was one of those big things where you have to keep that long-term mindset in play. But again,
how do you keep the long-term mindset in play, but you want to be a champion in the day?
Well, I mean, a lot of us are not going to be built to be champions in the day. We're going to have to look at it long-term. I knew that if I wanted to be the best.
But how do you tell them that? Forget you now.
I mean,
how do you take what you learned and transfer it to these people out there that are listening to you going, I get it, but these guys are blowing up on TikTok. These guys are getting huge and famous, and he just benched 700. I want to be there within a year.
We see a couple of hundred guys that are blowed up, right? And maybe a couple hundred new guys every year, like a Sam Solik or something, explodes out of nowhere from really nothing, right? And then we latch onto that person like they have some special tool, but we don't see the hundreds of millions of people trying and they're not making it, even if they're better. Sometimes it's just a luck of the draw. But at the end of the day, you and I both know, this was a prime example, Ed Cohen, another reference. 2016, Arnold's at one of the biggest points it was. I'm walking around with Ed Cohen around the expo, just checking it out. And because I had just broke world records, everybody's like, hey, look, it's Matt Wenning. And nobody knows that's Ed Cohen standing next to me, and he had broke 75 world records. You start to realize that once you go on the back end of it, you start realizing the short lifespan of that popularity. You're chasing something that will not last if you're going to go short term. That's what you should really be focused on is, are you going to be remembered when you're 55 or 60 or 70? Like Arnold still is remembered. Now, take away the movies and everything, Lou Ferrigno. He wasn't a superstar, but he is still remembered because he's not all beat up. And he still talks to
We still
people.
remember Arnold, though, from
28
years old, winning the Olympia in 1975.
Right.
That's still imprinted in my mind and he's still here today.
Think about all those guys that came from his era that nobody knows who they are. I mean, Robbie Robinson, you train with him constantly, right? But the average person walking into goals now has no idea who that is. So who are you trying to impress by getting there so fast that you're damaging yourself? You're really impressing no one. And that's where it becomes a facade.
And they should know who Robbie is because he's
Oh, yeah.
freaking
87 years old.
But the point is,
still doing it.
but his point,
yeah.
his point is, this has to be about you.
It's about you,
Yeah.
and it's about getting the most with the least amount of mileage.
If you are confused about training, do not worry. That's what the Titan training plan is for. For you guys to subscribe to this plan, you also get the additional coaching from me in the Titan private group. Get in there today, and I cannot wait to start working with you and making your dreams come true. Let's get back to the show.
That's
So why
the
do we
guys
keep
you
saying
wanna-
that over and over again and people don't catch? The gym is about the least amount of work, the least
yeah.
amount of work, but still get better.
Yeah,
That's what
optimum
it is.
gains with minimal effective dosage.
Right.
So maybe you can do 225 for 10 reps, but if you stop growing at 7, why are you pushing till 10? Because there's a certain point where the loading parameter is not in your favor to make progress. So sometimes going till complete failure or technical breakdown is not adding any more gain to your training than stopping at an optimal range of technical proficiency. You've never seen me do something f***ed up because I've stopped way before that. And a lot of that is just having the common sense. And again, we all grew up in an era where social media didn't run our lives.
Right.
So we although we have it as an important business venture, it's still not what started us. And now the kids are starting there. And that is a huge problem. I mean, you wanted to see where you matched up with the guys back in the day. You had to wait till once a year, Powerlifting
The
USA
list
came
100.
out, and
Where am I?
the top 100 list. And I remember finally getting to that number 1 spot after 16 years of training. And I started to realize, like, now these kids can just look that up immediately. They can see everything happen in front of their eyes. And I think in some ways that's a bad thing. I think if you want to be a true champion, probably worry about being a champion before you worry about being popular. Because the popularity will ruin sometimes your ability to be a champion because you're focusing on the wrong and shit. You're not focusing on what actually matters.
So I got to say this. When I first went into acting, the coach said to the class, he said, if you're here for fame or money, get out. And I go, wait a minute, I'm here for fame and money. And it sunk in real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I was young, but what I love is that we've all talked about this, and every guest we've had has the same kind of mindset.
Yeah.
You just feel the energy of this guy wakes up with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Just very useful. And then, like Arnold's book, Be Useful. Everybody's also useful. It's a cool thing to see and the patience that we have in what we do. I know you and how long you took to build your company. And then CT's talking about your watch, but I know the struggle to get the watch to this point. But they only see the watch.
Right.
You're on screen, the watch, I want that. I
Yeah.
know how long it took you
Yeah. Yeah.
to get to that spot, and then
Yeah.
how long you've been in this.
And I'm almost glad that I didn't have that genetic freak where I was just good immediately, because I maybe wouldn't have respected it as much. Maybe I would have flaunted it too much and become an injured statistic instead of somebody that was one of the top lifters in the world for 27 years. I don't
It's
know.
a cool thing though to do this. And we're still here. I mean, it's like you got to, if you guys are at home watching this, if you got to understand one thing about, and go back to the beginning of the show where he said the 3 important things. And HRT was not the first 3. I love the fact that it's a slow road.
Yep.
And I'm hoping you have a long life, because we just talked about this. Tomorrow's not promised to anybody.
No.
And so we're still here doing it. We still get to go train.
Yep.
It's the coolest thing in the world that we get to do this. But also on the other side, yes, you win. Yes, you're a champion, right? But there's another side to this where health comes into play. And like right now, you are skinny.
Yeah, 240. I mean, I've been this weight since
Junior in high school.
and a lot of that was driven by was going to a osteopathic doc. It's like, oh, your creatinine levels are off and your EGFRs are a little low. But that's just you're a lifter. I sent it to another guy. And he's like, Dr. Jackson, that does Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds' diets. And he's like, you need to fucking see a kidney specialist like ASAP. And I'm like, what the? I've been told for like 3 or 4 years. It's just it's just down low because I'm lifting. And he's like, no. And he's like, you have kidney damage. So a lot of the way I was training was skeletally protecting me. I don't have knee or back or elbow or shoulder problems, but I wasn't thinking about I still have human organs.
Absolutely.
And I'm straining so hard at an international level that it's causing damage there. Because I never really ran my test over 1,000. Like I didn't feel better after that. That's the difference between thinking bodybuilding and strongman
Yes.
powerlifting is you can only take as much as it makes you still feel athletic. Once you start feeling like a piece of shit, your training is going to go down, not up. So you get to everybody has a different genetic.
And also
toxic
HRT,
point.
just so they understand this. There's a thing called man strength, connective tissue. The connective tissue is what makes us strong.
Well, yeah.
They think it's just purely muscle.
And that's why I designed the winning warm-up, which I know you understand a little bit of. You guys probably never heard of it.
It's that time again to get my blood work done to see where my numbers are. Again, the one big thing for me is I'm keeping track of it. It's so precise. You know, I competed in bodybuilding and powerlifting and martial arts, but that was all over decades ago. And so how can I continue to keep this physique and be this strong at this stage? And so that is by optimizing my health with Titan Medical. It all stems from one thing: your blood work, what's going on inside of you. And that's the main thing that I'm focused about, is see how I can continue to not just be in the game. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a weekend warrior. I don't want to say you got a dad bod. I want to be the pinnacle of the health and fitness industry decades after I competed. And I've always said this too. You got so many of these guys that were with me in the 80s and 90s, and they keep putting the pictures up from the 80s and 90s. I don't want to be that guy. I like the fact that I can still put up pictures of me today, even though I won the universe back in the 90s. That's the goal for me. I don't know what your goal is, but I can tell you this. I know you want to live, and I know you want to live your best life. And that starts with blood work. Over at Titan Medical, start today.
I went to a ASCA, the Australian Strength Conditioning Association, and spoke to the SWAT team and their rugby strength coaches. And I'm thinking, I don't do anything specific before I do my main lifts because I don't want to waste my energy. And so I go do my first full raw meet and hit the third highest total of all time, my first meet. And I'm already like 33, 34. And I'm driving home and my bench press had been lowered due to my squat. So I was probably on the line to bench press around 640, ended up doing like 592 because the squat kicked my fucking dirt. Well, the next thing I know, I'm driving home and that potentiation, pre-fatigue talk that I hear this lady, she has no idea about strength, but it starts hitting in my head and I call Flex Wheeler. I'm like, hey Flex, when you were training, what rep range did you feel made you the biggest and the strongest you ever felt? He goes, without a doubt, sets of 20. That was about 3 years prior to when you asked me, hey Matt, how many times can you squat 500? Remember when we both had it out? I think I did 20. I think you did close to 20. Stan did like 12 because he's a pussy.
Yeah, because he's
Right.
Stan. F Stan.
So anyway, he was out of his prime at that point. Anyway. But long point.
Oh, poor Stan.
Yeah, poor Stan. So long story short, I start putting together this idea of sets of 20. Well, I'm reading these Russian texts, and they're talking about high volume sets of 20 being good for passive tissue, ligaments, tendons, cartilage. I'm thinking, well, that's a bonus, right? Because you might have muscle, but what attaches that, if it's not strong, you're fucked. And so I'm already at genetic limit. So I start playing around with this. About 8 months later, I go do my first Raw Unity meet, break the world record in the squat, bench 611 like a fucking toy. And it was all doing a little shit before the main lift to actually potentiate those muscles into what I wanted them to do. There's more to it than that, but for this size of podcast, that'll fare up. But the point being is that the passive tissue is usually the limiting factor to whatever you're doing. But everybody at the Arnold right now, all they're thinking about is the muscle. They're not thinking about the passive tissue.
But that's not just the Arnold. That's
everywhere.
That's social media. Social
Yeah.
media. The powerlifters have lame followings, and the bodybuilders have huge followings.
Yeah.
That's no offense. It is what it is because people want to see the bodies over the weights. And I just go back and I go, one is so short-lived where the other one is true longevity.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have both. You need to have muscle, but you also have to have the connective tissue